On the same day this March, 7,000 miles apart, two of the world's greatest football matches began. One in Buenos Aires and one in Rome. For the clubs involved, these games were a day of reckoning after months of violence, riots, even killings. Would the hooligans, some of the world's most powerful, be allowed to prevail?
Questo è il nostro regno, è la curva nord.
Quanti anni che vieni qua?
Ma io ho 22 anni di militanza allo stadio di curva.
The Olympic Stadium, home to both Lazio Football Club and its arch rivals Roma. Fabrizio is Lazio's most powerful fan.
Questo invece è il regno delle merde. Ecco.
La Roma?
Sì, sì, questo è il regno delle merde. Questo è il viale dove venivamo a fare incidenti contro i tifosi ospiti.
Sì?
Sì, perché qui vengono i tifosi ospiti, no?
L'ultimo derby è successo con la polizia.
Sì. L'ultimo derby la Digos ha pensato bene di perquisire e portare via dei nostri ragazzi 3 ore prima del derby. Quindi ci sono stati 40 minuti di scontri in curva. 40 minuti di scontri in curva giustificati da questa situazione. Fabrizio, irriducibili. Dici irriducibili.
In Italy, football hooligans are called ultras. Fabrizio is the leader of the Lazio ultras, known as the Irriducibili, or the Unbeatables. They stand here on the Curva Nord, the North Terrace, and support Lazio, one of the biggest and wealthiest clubs in the world. The current squad alone is said to be worth around £200 million. Despite playing for the club over a decade ago, West Ham's Paolo Di Canio is still the idol of the Irriducibili. As a boy, he stood here with them.
I remember one day came out the big band with the Irriducibili. It was, for me, Irriducibili, it was a new group. And then once I saw that group, I thought I like to join them because they are very good as a supporters and for a team.
Di Canio also remembers the Irriducibili leader, Fabrizio.
Like in a team, you can see the people in the way they behave, you in the way they act, you recognize in them the leaders. There were few in Irriducibili that didn't need to introduce themselves with I am Fabrizio Diabolic, because of course you recognize at the beginning.
As leader of the Irriducibili, Fabrizio is flanked by his two right-hand men, Toffolo and Yuri. Between them, they're able to mobilize the 10,000 or so fans who stand in the North Terrace. The Irriducibili have their own infrastructure, well beyond the stadium. They own these headquarters in the center of Rome, and their own daily radio station, called The Voice from the North Terrace. All this is funded predominantly with their merchandise business. They franchise and stock 14 shops in and around Rome with their own Irriducibili Lazio brand.
Noi abbiamo il diritto perché mai nessuno ci ha pensato a questa cosa. La Lazio aveva 4 punti vendita, ma dopo pian piano sono andati chiudendo e ne è rimasto uno solo. Questo è business se lavori in base ai risultati della Lazio. In questo momento non è business perché la Lazio logicamente sta andando male.
Boca Juniors ground La Bombonera is home to one of Argentina's largest groups of hooligans, known as Barras Bravas, or tough gangs. It too has its leaders.
I love Boca more than anything. I do things for Boca I wouldn't do for anyone. Boca's like my mother.
Rafael Diceo, known as Rafa, seen here in a brawl between Boca hooligans and some local rivals, commands the Boca gang. It's called La Doce, or the 12th player. It's common in these gang fights for sticks, clubs, even knives to be used. Rafa, on the left, was sentenced to 3 months in prison for his role in this fight.
We're a gang of at least 2,000. We're always together. I don't think La Doce is a mafia. To me, it's more like a family. A big family. We all think alike, we all feel the same passion for Boca, and that unites us. To us, it's a just cause.
Rafa, in the floppy hat, and his friends in the hooligan group La Doce have a special relationship with the world's most famous player. Diego Maradona came of age as a player with Boca Juniors some 20 years ago. He too was a Boca fan.
My relationship with the Boca fans is very good. I don't ask anything of them. They give me lots of love. That's how it should be. We're joined together through the songs, in our hearts, through our team.
Every Thursday, the inner circle around Rafa gets together in their own club. These men are some of the most feared in Argentina, Rafa among them. Their group, La Doce, has an appalling track record of violence. 5 of the gang are currently serving prison sentences for murder. Some have been active since the days of the old military juntas.
No a la violencia. En la dictadura, muchos políticos venían a agitar para que cantemos contra los militares. Después vinieron a agitar ellos a la tribuna y nos usaron. Una vez que llegaron al poder, ya pasamos a ser barra brava. Ya no les servimos. Estos que ahora mismo te mandan preso.
Agarra y cita la violencia a la policía, porque la hinchada va con su bandera, su bombo, todo con la entrada y la policía te tiene que empujar, te tiene que pegar, todo ¿para qué? Para que puedan poner más policía, entonces ellos hacen la violencia, la policía hace la violencia, el hincha no hace la violencia.
At the Olympic Stadium, Fabrizio can get members of Lazio's Irriducibili in for free. He can also make the entire North Terrace protest. Today they're accusing the underperforming Lazio team of being overpaid mercenaries.
Però al mondo d'oggi noi insegniamo più ad amare il simbolo, no? Per noi il simbolo è l'aquila. L'aquila, quindi la maglia, perché ormai i giocatori a cui ti puoi affezionare e che comunque ti danno qualcosa non esistono più.
Che dici, sono troppo ben pagati adesso?
Sicuramente la rovina del calcio e di parecchi giocatori è quello, girano troppi soldi. È una categoria la quale gioca, non gioca, lavora, non lavora, prende ugualmente soldi.
The fans hold up placards with Paolo Di Canio's name to show the Lazio team the sort of commitment they expect.
La cosa più bella che ci potrebbe regalare questo presidente è il ritorno di Di Canio. Paolo era uno di noi, Paolo era uno che stava in curva e lo dimostra perché in campo ha più del tifoso che del calciatore.
In a demonstration of their power, the Lazio hardcore, the Irriducibili, show their disgust at the present team by clearing the terraces for 20 minutes.
If they protest in this moment, it's because they saw during the season that maybe some players didn't give their best. I never had problem with the supporters because they know that I can miss a goal, I can miss penalty, I can have a bad game, but never they're gonna see me give up or play the 50-60% because I am the reflection of the supporters.
Rimortacci tua! E te chi non te lo dice con la mano alzata! Rimortacci tua! Rimortacci tua! Rimortacci tua!
A week on, and the Irriducibili are continuing their protest. It's one of Lazio's best performances of the season. They take the lead, but the Irriducibili refuse to cheer or support them.
Ormai c'è il clima di contestazione, capito come veni? E rimane così fino alla fine della partita, rimane.
The more goals Lazio score, the more their hardcore supporters protest.
Guarda il pezzo di merda! Guarda bene!
Yuri and the Irriducibili notice that some Lazio fans on another part of the terrace have dared to applaud. Some go and attack them. One man ends up in hospital. Lazio win 5-0. But the Irriducibili still protest, chanting at their fellow fans.
Ma come mai avete tutto questo potere?
Come potere? Non lo so, cioè non è che è potere questo. Il potere ce l'hanno i politici.
Ma il potere come... se vuoi andare a vedere i giocatori, puoi andare a vedere i giocatori.
E certo. Vabbè, perché a Londra non è così.
No. Non ti fanno... no, niente.
Ah, durante la settimana non puoi andare a vedere gli allenamenti?
Niente. Forse sì, ma non è che puoi andare...
Vabbè, ma ci saranno dei capi tifosi che potranno andare a accedere...
No.
Ah, no?
The hardcore Lazio fans have decided to take their protest against the players to Formello, Lazio's training ground outside Rome. Yuri appeals for calm.
Siete solo di sazia, direi. Non tirate niente, state tranquilli, non scavalcate. Sì, ma per quanto? Adesso 5 minuti, apro, stanno a venire a aprire, stanno tutti a girare sotto lì.
Alessandro Nesta, Lazio's captain and a top Italian international, agrees to call in Fabrizio and the other Irriducibili leaders for a chat with the squad. The meeting lasts 20 minutes. They decide to wipe the slate clean.
Vabbè, non è che stiamo a fare, noi abbiamo chiesto solo una cosa.
Noi abbiamo chiesto l'impegno
perché noi per noi ricomincia domenica il campionato. Cioè, niente, loro se dovranno studiare, motivo dei cazzi loro, però cioè, a sto punto pure noi guardandosi in faccia il dovere nostro è far tifo, perché non posso rischiare di andarsene qui.
But every time I tell my teammates in England that situation, they don't believe me, they have to watch with their eyes because we have different culture, different culture, because I don't know, it's completely different, we have different rules.
In Italy, there's still a lot of power in the hands of the little people, of the fans themselves. They can still command the clubs, in some cases, even as to which players they buy and sell. And unfortunately, whilst it's nice that in this multinational era for football, that the fans do have some say still in Italy, almost universally, what they're using it to say are very negative things.
Lazio's hooligans have become notorious for racist chanting, part of a worrying rise in Italian racism after a recent increase in immigration. Fabrizio's views are explicit.
It disturbs me to think that in the future the Italian race will become mixed like it is in England. You know, it disturbs me.
It's unbelievable. You go to Lazio and hear the fans making all these noises. I don't know how many of them do it, but it's unbelievable.
The French international Lilian Thuram was playing in Italy for Parma when he refused to transfer to Lazio because of their fans. In a sign of their power, the Irriducibili went to meet him.
I think they scared Thuram actually more than anything else by managing to book an appointment with a major Serie A player and wander into the training ground as a kind of representatives of some major Roman power.
Yes, even this was very strange. I never understood how they actually got in. In Italy, the fans are very powerful, and I really don't understand it.
Yeah, we went to him and we said, of course you can join Lazio. You know, we've got a black player in the youth team, we get on fine with him.
No, come on. How could I go and play for Lazio knowing what they're like? It'd be impossible.
In Argentina, the tussle for power on the terraces has had more serious social effects. By the start of this year, a series of violent incidents was starting to overwhelm the football season. The worst involved Boca hooligans at a friendly with their hated local rivals from Buenos Aires, River Plate. The match was abandoned. One person was killed.
The violence of Boca fans is not something we plan. We don't go out looking for it. What happens is that we meet the other gang, and suddenly fighting breaks out. How can you control that? Someone takes out a gun and shoots somebody, and you only realize afterwards. That's the problem.
The stadium is where Argentinians let off steam. Football belongs to simple players and poor people. People who can't afford, for example, to go to the opera. So they go to see Boca or River, and that fans the flames of their anger. I'm not saying football has nothing to do with violence. It's just that football is a reflection of the violence that takes place on the streets of my country every day.
A la violencia que pasa cada día en mi país en la calle.
Around 50 people have been murdered at football in Argentina in the last 10 years. Mothers and fathers are left to mourn their children killed in football violence.
There was a fight between the River Plate hooligans. They were fighting with each other. My son was watching as they were smashing up shops. Someone came up behind him and hit him. As he fell over, they stabbed him twice in the back.
Santa María, Madre de Dios, ruega por nosotros pecadores, ahora y en la hora de nuestra muerte. Amén.
It wasn't just my son that day. People had their heads broken. People were stabbed in the stomach. They were savages. They weren't human beings. They were savages. And some bastard started shooting at whoever was there.
Daniel was wearing a Boca Juniors shirt. On the front it said, "I was born a Boca fan and will die a Boca fan." And one of the knife wounds that killed him was right in the middle of that slogan.
When I come here to see my son, I feel helpless. The murderer was never found. Nothing was done to find him.
Instead, with violence so widespread, the power of the hooligans, the Barras Bravas, at Boca and other clubs has risen.
The Barra Brava was the group that cheered their team everywhere, and it became, I'd like to avoid calling it the armed group. It turned into the pressure group of a club.
Lito Pintos was once a Barra Brava. As a member of La Doce, the Boca hooligans, he met Diego Maradona, the star player.
I'll give you an example of the power the hooligans have. One night, the hardcore Boca supporters forced the coach to give Maradona the ball and to make him captain with immediate effect. And Maradona became captain. Everybody passed the ball to him, Boca won the match, and went straight to the championship.
Lito and Diego are still friends. Even through Maradona's most controversial times. After the footballer's expulsion from the 1994 World Cup, Lito is filmed with him as he fires an air rifle at journalists.
Maradona is a man who comes from a shanty town. He understands what a barra brava is, what football hooligans are about.
And belonging to La Doce gives people like Lito the chance to move up the social ladder. Boca's current gang leader, Rafa, has access to fashionable places frequented by the likes of his idol, Diego Maradona.
We were with Diego the day before his farewell game. We told him we had a surprise for him. He wanted to know what. But we said, you'll see at the match.
His surprise, arranged by Boca's top hooligan, was an illegal fireworks display.
It was fantastic. I'll be eternally grateful to Rafa. I thank everyone in the name of Rafa.
Barely a month later, violence spread onto the streets as the Argentinian economy collapsed. The protests were brutally suppressed and 4 people were killed. The government fell amid rioting and looting. There were rumors that some politicians hired mobs of hooligans for their own purposes.
A lot is said about La Doce. It's easy to blame football supporters. I don't deny some people might go, but it's not an organized group of hooligans. Obviously, politics and football go hand in hand, because politicians get themselves involved with football. Nowadays, with politicians discredited as they are in Argentina, it's not advantageous for us to be involved with them, or vice versa.
Those who have lost sons to the violence are less convinced.
The responsibility for the death of my son lies with the corrupt football authorities and politicians. Without them, there wouldn't be so much violence, because the perpetrators would be where they ought to be, in prison. The hooligans gave evidence in my case that football club presidents pay for their transport, their lawyers, and when they are arrested, they get them out.
For decades, Argentina's hooligans were subsidized by the clubs and the authorities, who used them as political gangs.
When I was at Barra Brava, and I don't deny that I was, because it was part of my life, we used to get given money for transport. On top of that, they also gave us tickets. Everyone knows that the tickets handed out by the football club are sold on. That's what funds the hooligans. That and the support of politicians and players.
When I was a player, we used to collect money to give to the supporters for banners and wine. But I won't tolerate someone telling a player, give me $20,000 because I support your team. Now that's being a supporter for money, not for passion. There's something you get now in Argentina. I'm totally against that.
There's always been speculation about the relationship between football club presidents and hooligans. There's a long history in which there was a relationship. Club presidents, as well as politicians, used to use the hooligans for their own purposes. But part of our new politics is to stop any contact with these sorts of people who base their power on violence.
Así que no es verdad que la dirigencia de Boca le da la entrada a los barra bravas y a los líderes barra bravas para que las revendan.
Well, perhaps I should say it in English. I've said it so many times. We do not give tickets to the hooligans.
Boca's president for the last 6 years is a millionaire businessman. The hooligans accuse Mauricio Macri of using them and the club for his political ambitions.
Boca la vidriera. Macri lo está usando a Boca, porque tiene otra ambición para ser presidente de la nación. Si Macri salía así chiquito, no lo conocía nadie Macri, así chiquito, era un empresario, pero así.
As a man who wants to devote years of his life to public service, Boca Juniors has been a great school. It has brought me close to the people and made me understand the logic of politics, because Boca is a very political club.
In Italy, the link between politics and the football hooligans has a darker side.
When you go around Rome, I think something that would shock people who haven't been here is how much extremist graffiti there is. But the curious thing about all this is that 80% of the time, to put a rough figure on it, those right-wing symbols are coming in football context. Like you'll see a piece of graffiti about Roma or about Lazio, and it'll be accompanied by the Celtic cross or by the swastika.
Lazio's Irriducibili have always had links to the far right. Italy's hooligan groups were heavily influenced by the war between left and right-wing terrorists in the 70s and 80s.
You had groups like Milan, Bologna, Firenze, which belonged to the left-wing movement, and groups like Verona, Inter, Lazio, which belonged to the right-wing movement.
This terrace was once full of our right-wing comrades. Many of them died fighting for the cause in the streets and against the police. Every Sunday you'd see them here on the North Terrace. They'd have their faces covered with scarves, supporting Lazio. Some still come to the game. I guess they're lucky to have found in us a new generation willing to carry on the work.
Given that history, the game between Atalanta and Lazio is a high-risk one for the ultras. Atalanta's hooligans are traditionally left-wing, and the game is prone to violence. The police in Rome try and keep the numbers of Lazio fans down by stopping those without tickets from boarding. Lazio's Irriducibili have other ideas. They stop the train, allowing the others to board. They have an 8-hour journey to the Atalanta match in the northern town of Bergamo.
Una delle più pericolose, sì. Sì, c'è una vecchia rivalità tra noi e loro, risale negli anni 70 proprio. Più che altro per motivi politici.
Old political rivalries have forged friendships beyond Italy. On board is a Chelsea hooligan and far-right activist.
I've been coming out for too many years. Through connections that I made in, well, friends of mine and I made in London through, at the time, the British movement and the National Front. and I've been coming since. Yeah, basically it's a fascist thing.
On the train too are militants from the extreme right-wing group Forza Nuova, the Italian National Front. They've been trying to recruit from the Lazio terraces.
Difendi la tua patria, aderisci a Forza Nuova.
Lui è laziale, no?
Chi?
Lui.
Certo che è dalla Lazio. Lui è di Forza Nuova.
Forza Nuova ci sono stati...
Yeah, we know people from Forza Nuova. We have good relationships with them on a friendship level. But our power is the power of the Irriducibili, and nobody else's. We created our own power, and I'd never let anyone take that away from us.
Ridurre da nessuno.
Awaiting the Irriducibili in Bergamo is a heavy police presence. But at the ground, they're able to burst inside without paying. Atalanta fans display a Che Guevara flag, and Lazio reply with right-wing militant songs, invoking the days of the fascist dictator Benito Mussolini. As both sets of fans trade abuse, Lazio take the lead. The ultras celebrate their winning goal with flares and abuse. And, again, chants of Duce, Mussolini's title. Only a heavy police presence stops the two rival groups clashing. A week before the biggest derby in Latin America, Boca against River Plate, Boca play another local team, Chacarita. The hooligans here have clashed in the past, and the police are on high alert. Already 4 people have died this season. Dozens have been stabbed and shot. Hundreds of policemen have been drafted in. Among them, in plain clothes, is a senior football intelligence officer, Dario Perrone.
En este momento tenemos en traslado 2 hinchadas que son la de Boca Junior y la de Chacarita. La función propia de mi división es centralizar y controlar el traslado de los elementos más radicalizados, comúnmente en Europa llamados hooligans.
La Doce, the Boca gang, are running late. One of them complains to the police about some trouble they've already encountered. Under Rafa's leadership, relations between the Boca gang and the police, notoriously bad in the past, are getting better. Rafa, in trademark floppy hat, is cooperating.
Normalmente tomamos contacto con, podríamos decirlo, el líder de la barra para un mejor proveer del servicio. Y con Rafa, de hecho, conozco no solamente a la gente de Boca, conozco gente de muchas hinchadas, ¿no? La función propia de la división hace a que tenga que tener una relación o determinada relación con ellos.
Rafa and his group have to negotiate to take in their traditional big banners. The police claim they're used to smuggle in weapons.
Pirotecnia nada. Nada. Elemento cortante, contundente. La lengua de este.
They strike a deal. Banners are allowed in.
Obviamente que eso es ridículo hacer eso.
It's ridiculous. Obviously, if you wanted to take something illegal into the stadium, you're not going to do it where you get checked. You'd find some other way.
Inside, its feared Chacarita fans will try to attack Rafa and the Boca hooligans in revenge for a fight at a previous match. The Boca fans celebrate their first goal. Unable to reach them, the Chacarita hooligans fight among themselves instead. Then they attack the police. The match is stopped twice. The Boca hooligans mock their rivals.
La barra en grupo no es controlable. Mismos líderes de barras tienen problemas para ejercer el control interno, sobre todo aquellos muchachos más jóvenes.
The escalating football violence is becoming a national crisis, the subject of intense debate.
Seguramente, ojalá me equivoque, este fin de semana va a morir alguien más. Vos mismo lo acabás de decir, entonces es una violencia controlada, Lito, lo acabás de decir vos mismo. Se van a aguantar esta semana, se van a aguantar la otra y en la otra se van a volver a reventar.
Son 400, van 15.000 espectadores a un estadio. ¿Por qué permitimos que esos 400 arruinen el espectáculo?
¿Sabes por qué lo permitimos? Porque el fútbol es un gran negocio para la televisión, para las empresas, para los futbolistas, para los que juegan en primera, porque los que juegan en división inferior se cagan de hambre. Es un gran negocio y los grandes negocios no lo puede parar ni un muerto, ni 10 muertos, ni 100 muertos. No lo podés parar.
But those who have lost relatives to violence have taken to the streets to protest.
When a mother loses her son, she either dies or she goes out to fight. I've chosen to fight.
They and other victims have little hope of ever receiving justice. They keep calling on the authorities for help. With 5 days to go to the season's biggest grudge match, Boca Juniors against River Plate, there's growing national alarm. Fearing more deaths, the government holds crisis talks and debates whether to suspend football altogether. The sports minister appeals to the people.
Que se dice a veces que pueden estar dando entradas para las cuales el final se lo borrará. Bueno, este es un hecho que habrá que comprobarlo. Si existiera, inclusive cambiar de contravenciones a delito los que arrojan cosas a la cancha.
Cualquier pavada.
Cualquier pavada. Lesiones como los que se el último fin de semana.
No sabe lo que dice.
Los armados que van a una cancha tienen que ser detenidos, tienen que salir como ocurrió en Francia en el Mundial.
Esto no tiene vergüenza. Esto no tiene vergüenza. Están preocupados por el fútbol y no se preocupan por los problemas que tiene el país, que son graves. Dios mío.
But talk of suspending football makes the authorities even more unpopular.
La violencia la hace el gobierno que tenemos, que con nosotros quiere tapar todos los problemas que tiene este país. Los problemas de hambre, desocupación que tiene este país, los problemas... Entonces no pueden decir que las hinchadas de fútbol son violentas cuando los más violentos son los políticos que manejan este país, que son los que gobiernan.
No hay que parar el fútbol. Si se para el fútbol...
Football shouldn't be stopped. It'd be like taking away the bottle from the baby and making it cry. That's not fair. That's not good. In Argentina, football is like breathing, and this country needs to breathe a lot.
With 1 week to go before Rome's own massive derby, Lazio against Roma, the Lazio Irriducibili have started work on the banners for it. They're an important part of Italian terrace culture.
Niente, il disegno nasce da delle idee studiate i giorni precedenti, sia dai capi del gruppo che sia dai ragazzi che che stanno nel gruppo, e si fa una selezione dei vari disegni fino a trovare l'ideale, quello là che ci rappresenta più anche in questo momento.
But the Lazio banners also show their extreme politics. Fascist symbols, like the Celtic cross, have been common. Some are deliberately provocative. These read, Team of Negroes, Terrace of Jews. In an attempt to keep politics out of the stadium, overtly fascist banners have been made illegal. Today, the police have come to check them.
Questi sono l'alfabeto runico, non c'è niente di runico, sarebbe inerente al periodo gotico, capito? No, è tutto inerente a questo, su sti standard, no, leva la certa, non c'entra niente la certa, questo è proprio l'alfabeto. Quell'altro ti faccio vedere tutta la lista. Fu offensivo che può essere, se sei nato a Barcellona sei partito da Valona, cioè non è che...
In Argentina, after a massive no to violence campaign and days of negotiation, the government reluctantly lets the Boca River Plate match go ahead. But only after tough new laws are introduced aimed at stopping further trouble. Rafa is relieved.
The derby against River is the match we've all been waiting for. Thank God we've been winning recently. God must be a Boca fan.
Rafa has his gangs under control today. This derby, known as the Super Classico, is one they expect to win, and they're in good humor.
Fue Inglaterra un tiro. Sí, entonces venía caminando, venían 5 hooligans así caminando, y uno le dijo, gordo, ¿qué pasa? Y este dijo, ¿qué pasa, papá? Y el más chiquito que venía adelante, el gordo hizo ¡guau! Y se lo comió. Lo tiene acá todavía.
Armed police herald the arrival of the Boca hooligans' sworn enemies. These are the hardcore hooligans of River Plate. They call themselves Los Borrachos del Tablón, the drunks of the terraces.
River y Boca es un partido, es un clásico dentro de los torneos locales de Argentina. De hecho, en años anteriores, incluso este año en la ciudad de Mar del Plata, llegaron a confrontarse brevemente las hinchadas en las tribunas. En años atrás ha existido víctimas fatales, ¿no?, de los enfrentamientos estos. Funcionalmente, Policía Federal Argentina trabaja para evitar esos tipos de confrontaciones y que termine como una verdadera fiesta deportiva. El club ha hecho una contratación de 900 efectivos, se van a agregar 400 efectivos más, lo que van a totalizar 1.300 efectivos.
Uniquely for Argentina, there are 54 security cameras in the stadium. But Rafa's men control their own gate into the ground. The violence of recent weeks means that today, only the most reckless of River Plate supporters, and perhaps the most hardened hooligans, have ventured into enemy territory, the Boca Stadium. On the same day, 7,000 miles away, Lazio are about to play Roma. Irriducibili Radio is taking calls.
Io, guarda, non lo so, se esiste in Cristo un Dio del pallone, io vorrei vincere il derby con un'autorità.
Cioè, le faccio conoscere amici miei che state Caspesoni, che bellezza. Del Piacenza, i ragazzi di Piacenza.
Before the match, Fabrizio meets some of the many right-wing activists who have come from other clubs around the country to support Lazio. Fabrizio goes to collect the banners for the game. At the stadium, the head of security makes a final selection of which banners are to be allowed in or not.
Niente. No. Ciao Andrea, uno di noi, è un ragazzo che è deceduto.
But tensions quickly start to build outside the Lazio end of the stadium.
passata una macchina con bandiere e vestilli della Roma sotto la curva. Questo vuol dire essere incoscienti, vuol dire sfidare una tifoseria e questo crea incidenti.
As more cars with Roma flags pass by, the Irriducibili turn their anger on the police.
Per mentalità nostra, noi non abbiamo mai menato uno da solo qua, capito? Chi vuole litigare, la curva sud e sta della. Porco Dio!
Another car with Roma flags passes. It's set alight. The police move in.
Sì, a nord.
The Lazio hooligans hand round flares. The police are pinned back. As the battle rages outside, the gates are opened to ease the situation. The Lazio fans stream through without tickets. There's 4 hours to go till kick-off. At Boca, the game is about to start. The hooligan group La Doce enter the terraces they've made their home. The people hiding their faces are supposed to be banned from the ground. So are these drums and banners. Across the vast, cramped stadium, 50,000 fanatical supporters taunt each other. There's been an unprecedented campaign to prevent violence. As a gesture of peace, players from the rival teams come out together for the first time.
Cuando uno está acá en el palco de periodista y ve la fiesta, cuando es una fiesta, cuando no hay violencia, a veces me da ganas de estar un ratito allá. Pero bueno, hoy están bastante contenidas las tribunas, a veces termina en violencia. Esperemos que sea una etapa superada en Argentina. No es normal que los jugadores salgan juntos. Haciendo una demostración de unidad, salieron juntos y se sacaron una fotografía todos juntos, que no es normal.
The last time these sides met here, 10 fans were injured, 4 police wounded, and 72 people arrested. The authorities are praying this match won't push Argentinian football over the edge. River Plate take the lead. La Doce, the Boca hooligans, taunt their rivals. But for the first time in 8 years, River Plate beat Boca Juniors in their home ground. They win 3-0. As the police prepare for trouble, the River fans are euphoric. But the Boca Juniors hooligans have to wait 20 minutes before being allowed to leave the stadium. And the authorities are blessed with luck. A huge thunderstorm dampens the hooligans' enthusiasm for the fight. They insult the police instead. In spite of the catastrophic defeat, Rafa, the leader of La Doce, is philosophical.
Yo bien, yo me siento bien porque la hinchada de Boca ganó.
La hinchada de Boca ganó, pero el equipo perdió.
Bueno, son cosas del fútbol, puede ganar, perder o empatar. Hoy no tocó perder, pero la hinchada de Boca ganó, la gente de Boca ganó igual. Es así, nosotros somos la número 1 del mundo, no del país, del mundo.
Both sets of hooligans have, for now, stepped back from the brink. This time round the stakes were too high. But it's at a price. The Boca hooligans now have a bigger ambition: to run the club itself. The violence before the Lazio-Roma game means the atmosphere is already strained. Fabrizio, Yuri and the Irriducibili leaders take their usual place by the pitch. Fabrizio talks to the son of Lazio's president about the Lazio fans' upcoming display.
Avvocato, buonasera. Vabbè, tutti stendardi all'inglese, tipo rappresenta una cavalcata dei guerrieri nordici, no? Cioè se proprio nel nome della Lazio combattete.
They unfurl the showpiece banner. It's 60 meters by 60 meters. Fabrizio takes his place on the terrace. He's happy with the banner.
Grande diavolo, bellissima come cosa, bella. Bella, è fascista, giusto? Nei limiti. Dai, diretti qua! Sesla, una lavoro, dai! La Lazio non sosterremo, e per sempre marcere, la Lazio!
Within 10 minutes, Roma score, and the atmosphere changes.
Autogol. Nesta, autogol de Nesta, autogol de Nesta. Che vinca, che perda, la Roma resta merda, che vinca, che perda, la Roma resta merda. Vi romperemo il culo, vi romperemo il culo. Guarderemo mai a Dio. Ci hanno segnato, devi morire, devi morire, devi morire, devi morire. Sì, ma usciamo proprio fuori.
At half-time, Lazio are 3-0 down. The match is no longer important.
Copri Benito, fanno le foto.
Outside, cars and kiosks are set alight. At the front, right-wing political activists as well as hardcore Lazio fans. They're trying to get to the South Terrace, Roma's end. But they're just as happy to fight the police. After repeated running battles, the Lazio hooligans flee back into the stadium. The police fire tear gas onto the terrace. Fighting continues for the whole second half. Lazio lose 5-1. To Fabrizio, the violence was no surprise.
What happened at the derby was inevitable. We were 3-0 down at half-time. And then, if you take into account what happened with the police in the last derby, it was always going to kick off. Earlier in the season, the police launched an unprovoked attack on us, so we gave them our reply this time round.
3 days after the derby, there was another protest at Lazio's training ground at Formello. This time, no one could calm the fans down.
To lose a derby 5-1 with a team that cost millions and had paid millions is disgraceful.
The Lazio hooligans attacked their own players.
They saw no passion, people maybe without desire. This has made them very furious. I remember when they attacked the Formello, it wasn't nice to watch, so it wasn't very, very good. But I can understand, but I don't accept it.
But Fabrizio, like Rafa at Boca Juniors, has ambitions for even greater power.
This should be a new starting point with the next group of players who come to play for this club. We'll make sure the new players are shown the footage of the derby, the rioting afterwards, and the attack at the training ground. So before they sign on that dotted line, they'll know the responsibilities they have and the sort of commitment that we fans expect.
Lazio's hooligans, violent and politically motivated, have claimed a unique power in a multi-billion-pound football industry. Like their counterparts around the world, they serve warning that today's football hooligan groups are more organised, ambitious, and potentially more dangerous than ever before.